Hello everybody, welcome to the first of the Tuesday night tutorials for doing some Pell work and keeping your fighter practice skills up while you're stuck at home due to the coronavirus. Tonight I want to look at a couple of things about doing Pell work. First, an explanation of what we're trying to achieve with the Pell work, and then we're going to look at a couple of simple blows and hand grips to practice while doing our Pell work. First of all, a Pell, most simply put, happens to be an object that you can practice sword blows against. In all reality, it doesn't have to be something like this, which is just a padded copper slog. You can have something as simple as a tree, a post of any form, a door frame. You can actually use corners of buildings. You can use many things. The important thing is, if you're not using a properly padded log, you're not trying to hit the object hard. You can use a waster blade, a padded sword, or an actual stick of rattan, depending on what you're trying to do with your Pell work, but for the most part, anything that you can lay a stick on, not particularly hard, will work perfectly fine for you. The key thing about Pell work is occasionally you are trying to hit the Pell hard, but for the most part, you're actually just trying to practice flow, position, and smoothness. It does not really matter if you can't hit your Pell hard, because all you want is some object that gives you a little bit of feedback at the position and gives you something to work around. We don't want to beat the Pell hard. The more you do that, you'll actually, because these things are fairly solid on the most part, you'll actually get vibrations coming back through your arm. And because we are trying to hit this Pell thousands of times, we want to reduce any loading on the body. So remember, for the most part, when you're doing Pell work, it's about lining yourself up a good distance to the Pell and just practicing the motions, the smoothness to get those shots in without having to necessarily hit hard. The second point I really want to touch on tonight is the hand grip that you're going to be using in just the whole general fighting. I am a big believer in the using about 4 hand grips. In reality, you can come with different ones, you can come in with finer detail between them, but really I view it as 3 major, 1 minor, and we'll go through those right now. So, the first one to think about, and using Duke Sir Gabriel's terminology here, is the OK grip. What we want to do is we're basically holding the sword between our thumb and forefinger and just letting it relax into whatever position it wants to be in. Don't have to hold the fingers up like this, but the key thing to remember is everything's okay. What that means is when we actually are not hitting something with the sword, we can let this sword just flop around, move as it wants to move, and we're not tightly controlling it. If you hold the sword too tightly and you're trying to go through these angles, you'll see that your wrist is forced into these really weird kind of positions and you have to choke the sword down. By doing this OK grip, you can basically let the sword just flop around, and the nice smooth motion of your body is what drives the sword into its position. Any tight corners are controlled by that body motion, takes all the stress off the wrist, protects your wrists for many years. The second hand grip that we're going to talk about is the hammer blow hand grip. The hammer blow is the one everybody thinks about, where the wrist is roughly at 90 degrees to the sword, changes a little bit, and it is there for delivering a punch through your opponent with the actual hand passing through the line of your opponent. It is an excellent blow, but it is not the be-all and end-all. It can get you to many locations, it can drive many shots, but for the most part, I only use it for cuts. I'm not a huge cut fighter. I usually throw snaps, but you know, some people are completely cut fighters and don't throw so many snaps. The third blow, which is the one that I use the most for actually delivering power into a shot, is the handshake. The handshake is when you let the tip of the sword and the pommel of the sword come into line with the hand so that it is all one continuous object like so. You can see that my pommel is sitting in line with my wrist as if I'm shaking hands with someone. This allows the fat part of my thumb to sit on top to hold the position quite nicely against that nice big piece of chunky flesh in my hand, and my fingers are just stopping the sword from falling out. It is a little bit faked in this position because I don't hold this position for very long. This is a hand position for the actual final moment when I strike the opponent, and then I drop it and go back to this hand, this OK grip, just to let the sword move again freely. So, what I would like to discuss today and use with the whole Pell work that I think people should get onto this week is practicing that transition from this OK grip, where you can literally just keep that sword moving, flicking around your body without putting much strain on your wrist at all, and the transition into this handshake where you let the tip fly out, the hand turn over and go into a handshake grip to actually allow the strike to hit. The one thing that you'll notice there is that while demonstrating the handshake here, my hand is like so. When I actually am hitting somebody, I just turn my wrist slightly and my arm slightly so that the sword is now horizontal to my opponent and striking blade on. It's very important that when you're practicing Pell work, that is the kind of things that you're continually monitoring. You're continually monitoring your hand position, whether you're striking blade on, and also that your hand is nicely positioned, not at an extreme angle, and that your elbow is slightly bent. So for this week, what we're going to do is we're just going to do these simple practice motions taken from the Oblimarchian DVD, where we're just going to practice the single strike to get that nice smooth motion going on. For those who have not seen it before or seen the Oblimarchian DVD, the way that they remember it is hand here, hand drops, palm out, the hand comes back up as if you're a Statue of Liberty, you drop it down your back. Now you throw the pommel at your Pell as if it's a spear from your shoulder, and as the hand extends, the tip goes out to the right and then flicks around to hit your opponent, roughly at eye line or neck level. We want to keep that hand and the sword blade nicely in line because that delivers a good shot and also gets this hand to protect you roughly in your face level. It allows you to get that blade across without having to be massively extended either way, left or right of the Pell. So what we're going to do is just run through a couple of those to basically practice on the Pell. With these, so it's a strike the Pell, hand, tip goes down, palm out, up to a Statue of Liberty, down the back, throw the spear, flick the tip out. And again, we're just practicing at this moment, nice position, getting this shoulder moving forwards and backwards, not particularly hard, nice and smooth, but changing that hand grip from the OK grip to that handshake. Once you feel you can get the snap to the head quite nicely going, practice dropping the tip down to strike the leg and then back up to the head. If you want to hold a shield at this time, it is very important to practice counter-rotating with that shield so that that shield is staying in front, in line to protect you no matter how much the rest of your body is moving. Okay, so basically keeping it nice and simple today and just keeping a focus on that hand grip. Super loose on the sword up until the moment of striking and then relax straight away again. You should be able to get a nice smooth motion going to practice. Next, I'm going to move on to a couple more shots, a couple of different ways to practice against the Pell. But until then, I hope you have fun and stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.